my story, Chasing Rainbows. Chapter 4, Harsh Reality. Of course, none of this was of any importance to Geoffrey Parker, or indeed his son Joseph. But you get naught for nothing in this world. There was indeed a price to pay. Jonathan Baxter had a granddaughter, who, despite her high status, was no beauty. Despite his efforts, Victoria had so far been unsuccessful in attracting a suitable beau. Her grandfather was anxious to see Victoria prosper from a good marriage, and in time produce a great grandson who would one day inherit all. He liked and respected young Joseph Parker, and if the lad were agreeable, he stood to gain a great deal from his proposition. Both families would prosper from so generous a marriage agreement. And so it was that Geoffrey Parker came to a decision as he sat at his desk that morning. Oh, of course he had got to know of the flirtation that had been going on between his son and young Jessica Flanagan. Gossip had been around the factory for weeks now. True enough, the lad had covered his tracks well in the beginning, and of course he needed to sow a few wild oats. But now matters must be brought to a head. Joseph would have to make a choice. However, the more Geoffrey pondered upon the matter, he became convinced the lad would not listen to reason. He could be a stubborn young man when push came to shove. If he had his heart set on marrying young Jessica Flanagan, nothing would persuade him otherwise. Unless the girl could be convinced that it had just been a flirtation as far as his son was concerned. Yes, that was it. Now he was about to be wed to a young lady of substantial means. Surely Jessica Flanagan would see it all made sense. Step aside. Yes, that was what she must be told, and the sooner the better. He glanced at the clock upon the wall. It was only just gone 10 o'clock. He would send for her at once. If he struck while the iron was hot, Joseph stood to gain substantial wealth. He was convinced the lad would thank him for it in the long run. However, Jessica Flanagan must first be persuaded to give him up. Jess hurried along the corridor to Geoffrey Parker's office with a feeling of great trepidation. She had no idea why her employer had sent for her, but she had a premonition that all was not well. She knocked timidly upon the door and was bade to enter. Geoffrey Parker stood up as she entered the room and held out his hand in greeting. Good morning, Miss Flanagan. Please be seated. He spoke gruffly. Thank you kindly, sir, she replied, as she perched daintily on the edge of an elegant green leather chair. Her legs felt like jelly, and she hoped he was unaware of her unease. He cleared his throat and appeared to shuffle some papers around on his desk. Now then, lass, I'll not beat about the bush with thee. It's been brought to my attention that you have nurtured some affection towards my son, Joseph. Indeed, I believe you were both attracted to each other for some time before he left to take care of business in textile mill at Great Harwood. He raised a bushy eyebrow. Right or wrong, lass? Jess raised her eyes to meet his and nodded demurely. Yes, sir. He promised to speak to you about us. We had discussed it before he left. He hoped to send for me once he got settled, she said nervously. She continued to feel ill at ease. Something was amiss here. She just knew it. Geoffrey Parker studied her with a steady gaze. Well, Miss Flanagan, I'm sorry to disillusion you, but it seems you have been misinformed. Since you last met with Joseph, circumstances have changed. My son is to be wed to my business partner's granddaughter, a young lady of high society. I'm surprised he has not had the good manners to inform you of his intentions, and must offer my sincere apologies on his behalf," he informed the pale-faced young woman who sat before him, looking as if she were about to dissolve into tears. Jess was so shocked by this confidential information, she was lost for words. How could this be true? Joseph had always assured her everything would become reality once he had spoken with his father and he acquired a suitable home. How naive she had been. "I see," was her response, her voice choking with emotion. She felt as if her world had fallen apart, and yet she must be strong. She must not allow Geoffrey Parker to see how heartbroken she was. She felt shocked to the core. How could Joseph behave in such an abhorrent manner? She would never have believed it of him, he who had promised her such happiness, such a wonderful future. What of all the times he had held her in his impassioned embrace, assuring her that nothing would drive them apart, spoil their plans? But then she should have been prepared for this disillusionment. It had all been a dream that she had clung to, in which reality had no chance of coming true. What an idiot she had been! Tears welled within, burning her eyes. She stood up, held out her hand to her employer. "I thank you for being so frank with me, sir. I accept your apology, and I wish your son and his betrothed every good wish." The old gentleman rose to his feet and clasped her small hand. "Look, lass, I'm not a heartless man, despite what you may have heard of me. I built this business up from nothing through my own blood and sweat. Why, when I were a lad, I started out with naught. I fought every inch of the way to get where I am today, and I can tell you it wasn't plain sailing. I know this hasn't been fair on you, and I'm prepared to offer you—" "Really, sir, there's no need," she began, her voice trembling. "Wait, lass, hear me out," he cut in. "I know things are not easy for a young woman who has to make her own way in this world. Let me offer you a rise in your wages or some financial support." She shook her head and faced him proudly. "I thank you kindly, but must decline your generosity, sir. I fear I must take my leave of this place, and would be grateful if you would accept my resignation as from today." Clearly concerned, Geoffrey Parker faced her squarely. "Nay, lass, there's no need to go." "Oh, but I do, sir," she cut in, colour flooding her face. She had been unsure until a few days ago, but she now knew for certain that she was with child. There was no way that she could stay in this place of work, or indeed in this neighbourhood, in her condition. Everyone would soon get to know of her pregnancy, and she would be shamed by all. Geoffrey Parker shook his head sadly. "Oh, lass, I'm sorry it's come to this. Let me make things a little easier for you and the child. Give me a chance to offer my help. It's the least I can do under the circumstances." Yet she stood her ground and shook her head. "I thank you once again, sir, but I have a little money saved, and—" "But how will you manage, lass? See sense. As time goes on, you will be unable to seek work of any kind. You and the baby will need things, a place to live." He looked upon her with compassion. Now he had learned of her circumstances, he felt ashamed to deceive this young woman and his son in this way. Yet he must think of all his efforts over the years to prosper and do well in the business. He must think of the future of his son. But then, what of his grandchild? Surely he or she deserves some recognition. How could he let this girl go out alone into the world with hardly a penny to call her own? It was unthinkable. Geoffrey Parker scratched his chin thoughtfully. "Leave it to me, lass. I will think of a way to make things right, given circumstances," he promised. She started to protest, but he waved his hand as if to dismiss her. "Nay, lass, go back to your work. I will speak with you later." Jess murmured her thanks and left the room, her thoughts in turmoil, her dreams shattered.